Hey, housewives, come on in. You know the dirty dishes are still in the sink from yesterday and the laundry is still in the basket. Pop your AirPods in and make yourself at home here.
I'm Tracy.
I'm Tori. And we are your Unlikely Housewives.
Stepping out in faith and believing that God calls the unlikely, we are here to show you the appreciation and validation you deserve, lead you to authentic relationships, and release you of believing the cultural lies to restore your faith and wellness.
Pull up those high-waisted yoga pants, tighten your top knot, and reheat your coffee for the third time. Turn up the volume, and let's go. Hey, housewife.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. We are so excited. We have double the fun today. You think we're fun, the two of us. Well, we brought two more in. So it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to let Tracy introduce our guests.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're excited to have Dr. Kathy and Shelby here with us. I'm going to start with Dr. Gaumer. She's a board-certified OBGYN. She's been practicing since 1995. She had a busy OBGYN practice with Lawrence Memorial Hospital for 16 years before moving to Kansas City to become an OBGYN hospitalist. She earned her degree. She's a big KU grad and fan, all the KU. She started prescribing traditional hormone replacement therapy regimens for her female patients many years ago, only with marginal results. After significant research and training, she specializes in bioidentical hormone replacement as well as testosterone replacement therapy for both her female and male patients. Praise the Lord. Okay. Dr. Gaumer has been able to meet the complex hormone needs of all of her patients, and she is passionate about creating great health for her patients and views a healthy blood chemistry as the starting point. And she has been living in Kansas City with her husband, Doug, and her two children. She loves the idea of making her patients feel better, function better, and look better. Thank you, Dr. Kathy. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow, that is an amazing introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Now I have Shelby, and I didn't have a whole written one. So this is just what I know about Shelby. She graduated from Rockhurst University, also worked at KU Med for 6 years in the neonatal unit, taking care of all those precious babies. She got her master's as a family nurse practitioner, and along the way met Dr. Gaumer and started her career. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
Tell us about your family. I didn't even put that part in here.
I'm married, and we've been married since 2017. We have 2 little boys, 5 and 4.
Oh,
They're precious.
Little boys. It's busy.
this is the age where you should be writing down the funny and crazy things they say and do.
I know.
Film it all and use it as blackmail later.
Absolutely.
That's what we've got. Okay. So this episode has been like 4 years in the making because this really has been where Tracy's been at. Like we've getting to listen, to be your support arm, the one that's like, keep asking questions, keep going, helping you. Like if I can connect you to this person or this person and we've done that a lot, but this was your answer to a prayer that you've had through all of your hormone issues.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and tell us how you found these two.
Okay. Well, I'll go back and just say hormones, health, the 30s were great. Loved them, was just feeling great. Just loved working out. My husband and I had started our early 30s running and doing half marathons and, moved to Kansas. And I was just this energized, busy mama of 4 and just managed. And then everything just kind of started going downhill. And I'm like, where's my energy? What's wrong with me? Like, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And as I started to just tank with my health, I started asking lots of questions. And sadly, I was dismissed. I went to a doctor about 3 years ago, and I remember just pouring my little heart out to her and wanted blood work. And she was like, well, that's just not really where you are. This is just kind of normal for your age, and you're a busy mom and you're tired. And she offered me birth control or a hysterectomy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Those are great options.
And
that's all we have. People.
Yep. And I said, no, thanks. And that began my journey. And I I've been through a lot. I did some homeopath stuff and did a lot of detoxing of like heavy metals and parasites and all that. I'm like, okay, maybe that's the answer. And while that was really beneficial to me, it just led me to feeling great. But then also some of these other things started to surface, like hot flashes, insomnia, and just flying off the handle and low energy and low libido and all the things. And then I was a real peach. Let's just say that.
We're really surprised Chris is still with us.
Oh, he would say thank you to these ladies. So all that to say, I went to a doctor a year ago, which was another we talk about these like divine blessings that, Tori and I have. And this was somebody that she met and I was looking for a new doctor. And she's like, hey, I've gone here. She's amazing. You need to go check her out. So I went to her, had great, conversation with her, and she recommended hormone replacement therapy. But at the time, it was a year ago and it was so new to me. And I'm like, that's scary. And so for anyone who's listening to this, know that you're not alone when this stuff may be brought to you and you're like, this is scary or this just doesn't seem right, because I know it's a big step, but it's just sometimes one of those you just have to take a leap and do. And so I waited and waited and waited. And I knew that was in the back of my head. And as another, girlfriend and I had a conversation last summer and I'm telling her all the things, she's like, well, I have it for you. I have the answer. Regain Functional Medicine. She had started a month earlier and she's like, I already feel better. She's like, call Monday. This was on the weekend. She's like, call Monday, get appointment. Here's who you see. Here's what you do. And about 5 days later, I'd had an appointment and I started on my new journey. So that is my story. And I want to just, we'll get into that a little bit more, but I would love for Dr. Kathy to just start and share how she found Regain.
Wow. Believe me when I can tell you that your story is something that we hear all the time, because we don't have anywhere, women don't have anywhere to go to ask questions. You talk to your girlfriends, you talk to your mom, your sister, your aunt, you try, there's all this information on the internet. You don't know what to believe, what not to. It's all very confusing, right? So, and then you went and you tried to see your OB-GYN and kind of got shut down there. So it's like, where do I go? Who do I trust? So believe me when I tell you, we get the same thing all the time. And hormones are very complex, right? So it is not a 5 or 10 minute appointment. When we see our new patients, we see them for an entire hour and we go through literally everything that's on their mind. But the way that Shelby and I got started, so I've been an OB-GYN obviously for 30 plus years. I hate to say, because then you can figure out that
no, you started when you were 15. You started, it's fine. You were just a baby. Yes.
I'm happy to say I just had my 60th birthday and I've been on hormones for 10 years. And I tell you, I would be a completely different person without them. But so in the OB-GYN world, obviously we deal with women of all ages, from adolescence and just starting their periods to young 20s, birth control, all of those things, young married couples with babies, and then all the pregnancies. And then, of course, menopause and hormone management. So the whole spectrum. So when I was dealing with that in my practice, I noticed that my older patients who I had put on hormone therapy would come back for their maybe annual exam the next year. And I'd say, are you still using it? How are you doing? Is it helping? And almost all of them had not renewed their prescription or had stopped maybe a few months after starting. And I would say, gosh, what is going on here? They said, well, I just didn't really get the result that I thought I was going to get, or I didn't feel that much better, or I didn't like whatever side effects. And it wasn't worth it to them to continue on the prescription. So that's what kind of started my interest in, well, what else is out there? What else can we provide? Because as a women's health advocate, that's something I'm very passionate about. We need, a lot of medical research and all of that are aimed towards men. And the women's health is always kind of in the background. So that didn't sit well with me. So that's when I kind of wanted to see what else was out there and get some extra training on hormones, not knowing that this was going to be kind of my second chapter after I finished delivering babies and all of that. But I will tell you that this is as rewarding as taking care of all of those pregnant mamas and delivering those babies. It's helping a whole nother group of women in a different way, but it's still as rewarding. So you're not alone. Those symptoms and that story we hear every day. And Shelby can tell you the same thing because she's in the mix with our patients. And, we're seeing hundreds of patients every month between our Leawood practice office and our Lawrence office. And everybody comes in confused, not feeling well, not sure. Like I went to my doctor and they told me everything was fine, but I feel terrible. And what can I do? And so and I'm happy to go into all the things as far as what we do for our patients. But
yeah, I would love, actually, Shelby has been my person, my nurse practitioner as I come into the office. So obviously you've heard my story.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've heard this story a lot of many women. Can you just talk about the common themes? Because our listeners are going to be listening and going, well, would it be for me? How would I know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like I was just listening to Dr. Gaumer just talk about those symptoms. And honestly, I have people break down in tears in the room in that first consultation, just because they do feel so broken almost.
Yeah.
And just honestly, not like themselves, like not even really the same personality. Maybe they're having relationship struggles. Maybe sometimes sexual intercourse is painful. They're waking up drenching the sheets. They have brain fog throughout the day, anxiety, honestly, a lot of just depression too.
Yeah.
Just with feeling down, not like themselves. And then honestly, most of them are just like, I just want to take a nap every single afternoon, just completely I get home from work. I mean, my kids, don't talk to me because I'm done, for the day. So I think those are like the big ones, I feel like, and it's female and men, but I feel like female obviously is, I don't know, definitely a lot more emotional, and honestly the majority of our practice, because it is
tied to that emotion though. Those emotions. I mean,
exactly.
I think that's probably where I hit that confusion really of like, and this is a question for both of you, can give, some input on it. I was seeking my medical advice from my doctor, right? Like you go annually.
Exactly the right thing to do. Right. That's what we're always supposed to do.
Yes. And I was going, and I remember just that last time that I went and feeling just so like brokenhearted, actually, like nobody cares about me, like, well, why can't I get help? And I didn't know what I was looking for, to be honest. I was just saying like something's wrong with me.
With that, can I go, okay, so as somebody who has not been through all the stages yet, okay, can you like elaborate, like, these are conversations that, I don't sit down and have with my mom or an older. Clearly you've been through menopause. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not how you start conversations with people. And so what's different? So traditional options, I mean, obviously the doctor giving Tracy 2 options, birth control or hysterectomy. Which one? And then, but what is out there? What has changed? Because hormone replacement therapy, I know that, I mean, that word sounds familiar, or phrase sounds familiar, and especially too with those who have had hysterectomies, that like that comes a part of it.
Right. Yeah.
But this is obviously different because, and there's so many of us now that are gun shy on seeking, going to medical professionals, because we're like, they're just going to give me a script because that's all they're going to do. So what are women used to? And now what makes this different, I guess?
Oh, you've just opened Pandora's box.
Okay. Well,
how much time do we have?
Yeah. We have plenty of time.
Take you through it. So you're exactly right. It's like, where were we before? How do we get here? And then how do we know that what we're doing is safer or better than what we had before?
Right.
Because that's really the main question. So not to get like totally too technical with stuff, but if anybody who's a little bit older than you guys remembers, there was this huge study back in the 80s and early 90s called the Women's Health Initiative, or WHI for short. So the Women's Health Initiative was this study that was done on thousands of nurses, and they were all on hormone replacement therapy, and we wanted to see what the long-term outcome was. The study was actually ended just a few years in because the findings were fairly alarming. They found that there was an increased risk of heart attack, stroke, blood clot, breast cancer, uterine cancer, all of those things. So, of
That's
course, as one
right.
would imagine,
Yeah.
hysteria ensued, and everybody in the country, all the women were literally, the hormone replacement therapy was ripped out of their hands, and
Yep.
everything was shut down. So it was a terrifying time.
Yeah.
And the women of that generation,
Mhm.
basically, they had no options. They just had to just gut through it and just manage. So luckily, now I would say 20, 25 years later, another group of scientists have gone back and actually relooked at the data that the study showed. So the good thing about it was it's a very big study, lots of women. The bad thing was the average age for the woman in the study was age 61. That's on average 10 years later than most women go through menopause.
Okay.
Average age in the US for healthy women, age 51. These
Okay.
are average age 61. So you're already 10 years past. The other thing is they were using for those that hadn't had a hysterectomy, were using a medication called Prempro, which contains equine estrogen, which is derived from horse urine. The last time I checked, I don't think that is natural to a woman's body,
Nope.
because none of us
I
look
know.
like horses. So
Right. I
anyway,
would,
so
Fair
wrong
statement.
estrogen, clearly, and then they used a progesterone called Provera, which is a synthetic progesterone, which is about 10 times stronger or more than what our body's own progesterone is. So it's a much stronger progestin. So number one, wrong age group of women. Number two, wrong combination of hormones.
Mhm.
Number three is they gave it in an oral tablet. So anytime you give hormones orally, it gets metabolized through the digestive system. There's what's called a first pass effect in the liver, which activates the clotting cascade. So that first pass effect gets your blood clotting system started, and then that's why the increased risk of blood clots, stroke, heart
okay.
attacks, etc. So when they went back to look at the information, they actually determined, yes, wrong hormones, wrong route of administration, wrong age. But then they looked at the women who'd had hysterectomies, and these women were on estrogen only. So they took the progesterone out for those women. Lo and behold, that group did not have an increased risk of clots, stroke, breast cancer. Their breast cancer risk actually was slightly decreased, believe it or not. Now, of course, this got no press anywhere. Nobody heard anything about it. There was
None of the
never-
good science does.
it's never, the WHI was on the front page of every paper and whatever. The follow-up study, if you could ever find it, was probably on the back page of the.
But isn't that true of everything?
It
Like the
is.
correction to the article, it's the first article that gets the headline. And then when they come back and go, hey, we were wrong about that. Nobody gets
Nobody
Never.
popular
after saying, gee, we got this wrong.
You're exactly right. So the good news is we did gain a lot of knowledge from that study. So the fact that it was a big study and the fact that that we were able to go back and look at it, we've learned what was wrong. So now we can correct it. So now we know we use estradiol, which is an estrogen that is natural to our body because it's the same structure as what our ovaries make. We use a very specific type of progesterone, which is called micronized progesterone, again, because it's very natural to our body. We give the estrogen, and for those women who are on testosterone, we give it intramuscularly or in something that doesn't go orally. So a cream, a patch, an injection, a pellet. That way it doesn't activate the blood clotting system, so it reduces the risk of that. And we use the lowest effective dose for that individual woman. So the way we do it at our office is everything is very much customized. And so it's not cookie cutter. When Shelby sees a new patient, she's sitting down with that patient and jump in, Shelby, anytime. I mean, they go over their medical history, their family history, what medications they're on, what surgeries they've had, what else is going on in their world, and what symptoms are they having, and what are their goals. And based on that, and a comprehensive blood work that we do, a blood panel, it's very much looking at all of that together and then coming up with the customized dose for that woman or man. So you're able to get them feeling better without unnecessary risk to the patient. And that's where we are today, which is completely different from obviously where we started. And the way that we know that we're improving people's lives is because friends or family members refer their friends or family in.
Oh, you could not get Tracy to shut up about y'all. I mean, but that's just because you changed her world.
Yeah.
I mean, and she would say that. And so, but that's how you know you've made a difference.
It's drastically different. It's a big drastic difference from like for people's quality of life overall. I can tell you my entire family, aunts and uncles, everybody, and they were in the generation that was told, don't take hormones, don't take hormones. So it's taken a lot of education, and there was, I'm not going to lie, they were nervous at first just because they were told that for so many years. But now, I mean, again, none of their friends, I mean, they've changed their friends' opinions. Their friends are coming in, and like Dr. Gaumer's been in the industry for so long. It's not like we see an increase of like, more cancers or anything. We do only this, and there is not any more increase than what the average population, already sees. Yeah.
That's
Well,
a good
and
point.
you just said it, Shelby. It's the information. I started, like I said, 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Do y'all follow Dr. Mary Haver? Dr. Mary Claire Haver?
I know the name, but I don't follow.
She is just someone who I found on Instagram. She very similar to you. She was an OBGYN. She started her own private practice. She's out of Galveston, Texas. She became somebody that just was sharing online. She's written 2 books that I've read, but the point is that she just became someone who like just started sharing on social media, and she changed her world similar to yours. She was in the practice, and she was like, well, what I was recommending wasn't working to my patients or wasn't working for her that she was recommending to her patients. And so then she was like, research, let me figure this out. And that's how she's got into it. And I started following her on Instagram. That's really kind of how I was like, what's my alternative? Because that was where, when I left that office that day, I was like, well, I don't want to do that. But then what do I do?
Right.
People feel dismissed.
Yeah.
Their normal dismissed is the best word. Every time they come in for a consultation, they're like, pretty much, I got no hope. And they're on their last ditched effort to try to figure out, I can't keep living like this type of thing.
We see that all the time. Dismissed, defeated, defeated, they just come in, they're like, okay, my primary doctor, my OBGYN says, oh my gosh, if you go on hormones, you're going to die from a heart attack or get cancer or whatever. And so the thing that we have to do in our office, which is very similar to what you're saying, is you have to re-educate. It's like, I understand that is what you heard, but that is information from probably multiple decades ago. And obviously they may have been taught that in school and really don't have a desire or need to update their information about hormones.
Yeah.
And so that is a very standard thing that we hear all the time. And then when we sit down with them and we give them the information and the most up-to-date information and how we do things and why we do it the way we do it, I think people they're smart. They understand, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Physiologically, scientifically, I feel comfortable with this, to the point where, not that I recommend this, but to the point that they go, you know what, if my doctor asks me if I'm on it, I'm just going to say no, because I don't want to be,
criticized,
shot down or criticized or feel like I'm doing something, harmful, when if they asked me how I'm feeling, I feel so much better, but they're not, that it's being lost and still in the, I'll say, mainstream medicine.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think to answer your question as well, like we want to ask, our moms, our aunts, our grandmas, you do want to know some type of your hereditary history. I have a very specific history, but it's also like, they didn't do anything.
Right. There was
nothing available. So they just dealt with it. It was the whole suck it up, rub some dirt on it. Like, this is just the way it is.
Yeah.
And then obviously we can go into all kinds of other things, what's in our foods, what's in our soil, blah, blah, blah. Like how we have all been depleted with nutrition and absorption and all the things. Like our bodies are just different. But we also know that, just like you said it, the quality of life, like I haven't said that, but my quality of life has changed, because I have more energy. I have that ability to not take that nap during the day and can get more things accomplished. Intimacy is better. Like that was obviously a struggle because of all the cycle and issues and all the things, and it became something that once you're like, okay, this is working, your eyes are wide open to, I have to tell people about this.
Yes. Well, and thank goodness that you do, because obviously, as you guys have put this podcast together, women are searching for information and
Mhm.
people that they can trust to get questions answered or go, oh, she has the same thing that I was struggling with and
Mhm.
she's better. Let me listen.
Yeah.
Because it's so complicated and there's so much noise out there that you don't know where to go or who to believe.
Well, and
So-
I would add to that because I was first recommended to get on hormone replacement therapy from the secondary doctor that I went to, but I was only given one solution.
Mhm.
And I'd also heard so much about that one solution. And I was like, ooh, like I
Mhm.
kind of feel like I'm on the right track. But, and then it was, again, my friend who recommended coming and seeing with you. And it was that like sit down for an hour
Mhm.
and go through everything
Right.
and be able to say, okay, so I've heard this. Can you tell me about this? And I mean, I brought, you guys, I was your crazy patient. I brought the
Oh, yeah.
paperwork. I
I've
brought
seen
the
it all.
stories.
Nothing surprises me anymore.
And I did. And I sat
Yep.
down and I was
Important.
like, this is what I'm dealing with. And she's like, it's okay. It's okay. Like this is so normal. But I'm like,
Mhm.
You have no idea. We would much prefer to have a
Yeah.
knowledgeable patient who
Yeah.
comes in with
mhm.
questions and like, okay, please explain this to me because this is what I'm hearing elsewhere. We really appreciate that. And we actually desire people to come in with questions
Yeah.
and some initial knowledge because then you can really have a conversation that is meaningful.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to start from, ground zero and some people really don't understand how hormones affect their body at all. And that's okay too. We can
Yeah.
The
start from
question
there.
I have is that we are naturally, when it comes to medicine and health, 9 times out of 10, we're reactive, right? Like, I got a cold, I'll take some medicine. Or like,
Yeah.
I'm going to up my vitamin C because I got a cold.
Mhm.
As women, is there a point? Because like, I just went for my yearly exam and they're like, great, see you in 3 years. And I was like,
Oh Lord, well that shouldn't be happening.
wow.
3 years.
Like, okay, so we don't
the-
do this yearly. Like,
The pap smear should be every 3 years if it's been normal, but you should still
yeah, but it was just like,
yeah.
I got
Pelvic
you.
exam. Yeah.
We did
An
a
overall
In the
exam.
world, okay.
Yeah.
exactly, and it was just, I mean, but
Let's say,
I
let's find you a new GYN.
right, okay, yeah, I'll get that information from you later after this. But that's my question: as far as somebody who is almost 40, I get to say that because that means my husband's almost 50, and that just bothers him. So that's right. It doesn't bother me at all. But anyways, but as somebody who's like, okay, because there are things like I know I'm trying to do things. We go to the same great like chiropractor, and they're like, I don't want to feel the lost for 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I can say like, do I come in and get blood work like once a year and say, and like have a bar, like
Mhm.
this is where things start, or like, hey, this is good. Come back and like, again, like a dentist, you go to a dentist every 6 months.
Preventative.
Preventative.
Yeah.
Preventative
Yes.
is the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
so
trying to
that is the big question, right?
Mhm.
And it's important for people to understand that medicine right now is still, like you said, very reactionary. Let's wait for
Yeah.
somebody to get sick or have an illness or be
Mhm.
diagnosed with something, and then we'll try to help them.
Right.
Well, why? What does that make sense? I mean, why do we want to wait for the body to break down and then try to fix it? Why don't we prevent illness? and
Exactly.
disease
Yes.
and
Right,
keep
right,
people
right.
healthier longer. And that is very much our philosophy at Regain. Is we want to be as proactive and preventative. I would say we are longevity
Mhm.
experts or a longevity office, and names like functional medicine, holistic medicine, longevity medicine, it's all a hodgepodge. Nobody ever really knows what that even means.
Right.
So it's all kind of
Everybody's got their own definition.
mosh pit of terms. But
Yeah.
basically it's maintaining your hormones and your blood chemistries as optimized as possible so your body has what it needs to function properly.
Mhm.
Right. So think of it like, you have a Maserati, right? If you don't take care of that Maserati, it's going to break down and it's going to be a piece of junk in about, 10 years if you don't,
do anything.
take care of the
Yeah.
oil and all the, lubes and the chassis and the transmission and all that.
Yeah.
So you can have and it's the exact same thing with the body. Your body is this beautiful machine, but if it's not cared for, if it runs out of something, it's not going to be able to function well. So what we try to do is replace what is being depleted. So it's like if somebody's low in thyroid, somebody's hypothyroid, of course, we're going to replace thyroid hormone. That makes sense. Everybody
Right.
understands that. If somebody's diabetic, means their pancreas isn't keeping up with insulin production, we're going to put them on insulin or some kind of blood sugar management. It's the same thing as a woman or man. So menopause for women, andropause for men. There is a name, people.
So it's not menopause. I thought it was
menopause too.
Yeah. Okay.
It sounds way more fun.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I would say and it's different for everybody, right? So you can have 10 years approaching menopause. So I've seen women as young as in their early 40s all the way into their mid 50s. And there's all age groups, but going through kind of a transition. So it's kind of different from everybody. And if you are lucky enough to have family members, you could ask them, because genetics does play a role in that timing, but you will usually start seeing some symptoms occur. I'm not sleeping as well as I used to. My periods are irregular or getting heavier. My hot flashes are kind of coming and going. My mood's kind of all over the place. So the age that starts is going to depend on each individual woman, but that's when I would probably say would be good time to come in. Let us check your hormone levels.
Your late 30s. Yeah. Let's get a baseline of where you're at. Like it's,
but unfortunately, like you were saying, you go into your primary doctor's office or your OB and they're going, oh no, we're not doing blood work.
And a lot of times that's with perimenopausal women too. And when the symptoms actually really start, maybe they're not like full blown menopause, but they start to notice women are really in tune with our
Yes, we know.
We know
when something's off.
And we don't like people telling us, oh, that's fine, or just put up with it, or it's a normal part of aging. We want to feel good.
Yeah.
Well, God I can't imagine that he created us to have the second half of our lives to be absolutely miserable. Right? That's that does not make sense.
Yeah.
I think you said it correctly. Our parents, they did not have this available. Believe me, if they had everything that we had available, honey, they'd use it. They would have.
Right.
They just didn't have it. It wasn't available to them. So I think our generation, your generation, because you guys are over a decade or two younger than I am, is very much preventative. And we want to stay healthy. We want to stay active. We want to be able to run after our kids and have fun and travel and play pickleball and golf and hike and do whatever it is that we want to do. We don't want to sit on the sidelines in the rocking chair and watch everybody else do all that. So that's the difference.
One of the things that in all of the research and things that I have read, and one of the things that women like myself, it's you don't wait too long, but you kind of do too, because that has been if I had started this 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't be as far along in the funk trying to do the reverse damage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm having great results. I will continue on this track, and I know no doubt it's going to continue to be successful. But I think when just for encouragement, and then obviously you can kind of back it up with a little bit more of probably the research, like women can start hormone replacement therapy before menopause. Doing it. That's recommended. It's supposed to be something that helps you balance your hormones, which lowers the symptoms that come along with menopause, that helps you just basically ride right through it. And to be someone who felt like I had to just live with it and then to be more balanced, I just want to encourage listeners that there is an answer, there is hope. And while it may not be traditional, right, or medicine, or it's just, you threw out all the words, homeopath, functional, whatever. If it's something that helps you, just like if someone needs to be on anxiety medicine or depression medicine, if it's what helps you to get to the next level of what you need.
And I will say this, some of us needed an epidural to have a baby. Then other Mila, I'm thinking of you, are home birthers, and that's fine.
Yes.
But
what you need, you should go get.
Yes. And so yes, I would say that, because more knowledge and going in and having a consultation and asking the questions, that's worth the time and effort, because then you have the information to make an informed decision one way or the other. Otherwise, you're just making assumptions and you're wrong.
Well, and can you speak to the research on, having hormone replacement therapy actually helps your bones, your strength, and your longevity?
Yes.
postmenopause.
100%. So what happens to people with aging? Well, I think we've all seen it, right?
Mhm.
It's the incredible shrinking man or woman. Everybody starts to get hunched over. Why?
Dude, I can't afford to lose inches.
I me either. Why do you think I run around in heels all the time? Yeah, I can't afford it either. But so you start to lose bone mass, you start to lose muscle strength, you lose both of those. Guess what? You start to lose stability. What happens when you become unstable? When there's a high risk of fall? It's this constant thing. Obviously, without it, we see increasing weight, usually midline, which then increases the risk of diabetes, increases the risk of hypertension. So all of those disease processes that we kind of relate to older age people are preventable a lot of times when your body is functioning normally and you're giving it what it needs to function normally. And so all of those things are preventative and are health building and are an improvement in your quality of life, your ability to do what you want to do as long as you want. And the most important thing are those things about bone strength, muscle strength, and stability, because what we know is when an older person with bone loss falls, they're at a much higher risk of a bone fracture. You get a hip fracture, and you have a 50% chance of dying because not necessarily of the fracture, but all the complications from mobility and everything that comes from that. So there are lots of reasons other than just improving libido for hormone therapy for women and testosterone therapy for men. And let me tell you, and Shelby can tell you too, our happiest people are the couples who are doing it together because they
Hear that, Chris?
Absolutely.
Let's do this. They literally
Yes.
literally and
Figuratively, they're doing
Yes.
it together.
Thank you. Doing it together. Yes, highly recommend.
It's so true. I usually see the female or the male, and then I would say 3 months later or so, the other one comes in because they notice a very apparent difference in their partner and they want some of it too. And honestly, I don't know, they're happy. They're happy together.
It really is.
And then one other thing I wanted to point out on, I feel like I don't love this about traditional medicine. In this day and age, we just have to be advocates for our own health.
Yes.
And that's where I feel like we come in to kind of help you along the way to be an advocate, because I think it's great that you seeked us out and you did your research. And unfortunately, you just kind of do have to look for that sometimes. And I feel like, we're here to help guide you through that and be an advocate along with all the other women out there struggling.
Well, and
So,
you guys have so many resources within Regain, but within your practice, but then also like, hey, if we don't offer it, like we can find you somebody that does. Like it's
exactly.
That to me is so helpful because let's be honest, how many times have we just Googled something and we just go to the first one that pops up? Like I almost always go to the second one just out of spite, but that's as long as the reviews aren't terrible. But but it would be nice to go, okay, like I know I'm going somewhere that is going to inform me, at least give me a starting place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that in itself is just extremely helpful because it might not be your season yet. Like it's just like
you may not be ready.
Tracy.
But you may want answers to, well, where am I? Like what phase am I in?
Yeah,
That's what I was going to
exactly.
say.
I mean, and people are so relieved if we can even just tell them that, hey, you're kind of just starting into perimenopause based on your hormone levels. Here's what you can expect over the next couple of years. If these things start happening, please come back and see us. We'll do another blood test and kind of update you on where you are. So we've done that many, many times. So it's not like if you walk in our office, you're like
put on
tied to the chair until you
No, not at all.
on hormones.
Some people just come in for a consult. I mean, a lot of people start the same day, but honestly, we are not. It's not like we're going to pressure you into anything. It's really just an education, and it's so you know what treatment options there are out there for you.
And that's, just like you were saying, it's like the dental, or, you get x-rays so that you can see the changes, or, why not have a picture of your hormones, ladies? Like get a picture of your hormones, at 30, at 40, because had I had any kind of picture, what a gift it would have been to me. I literally, at that same appointment, I advocated, and I was like, I'm not leaving this office without blood work. And she was like, okay. And 2 weeks later, she called to apologize. She's like, I'm sorry. She's like, you are well on your way to perimenopause. My ovaries are basically dead. And she's like,
retired. We like
retired. Yes, I like that. Retired. I like that. But that was the point. My options were still the same, but
Yeah, that just
Sorry, the
blows
visual,
my mind.
the visual of Tracy's ovaries retired. I'm just thinking her ovaries on a beach somewhere with a margarita. I mean, sorry.
About right.
Dead things like flapping around. I think your listeners, the one thing I want them to understand is that even though our name is functional medicine, I am a board certified OBGYN. I am an MD. Shelby is a nurse practitioner. We have another nurse practitioner. We have 3 other RNs. We are a medical practice. This is just like if you were going into your internal medicine doctor, your family practice doctor, your OBGYN, your whatever. We're medical, we just take it to the next step. So anyway, that was the one thing I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable in knowing that we're not some kind of weird left-wing
witchcraft. It's not witchcraft.
It's not voodoo witchcraft.
Right.
That's probably the perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
It's true medicine based on good science.
No, and I think that as we definitely, post the COVID years, like I said, people are gun shy walking into a doctor's office because they don't want, just to be put on a prescription for the rest of their life.
Right.
But at the same time, on the flip side, it's not saying, okay, well, eat some wheatgrass and some ginger and you'll hit you on the butt and you're good to go. Like, so
and that's a great point. So we have a fairly big telehealth practice, and Shelby and a lot of our providers are on telehealth calls every day, not necessarily because they don't want to come in, but maybe they live out of town, or they used to be a patient, now they've moved to a different state, or they want to maybe have the initial consult by telehealth to decide whether they want to come in for a appointment. We can even send out a lab rec we use LabCorp. So if it's a telehealth, we can send a lab requisition to LabCorp to get their blood work done, and we can go over the results of that through a phone call as well. So
no, that's
all
awesome.
of those things are available
because our listeners are nationwide, worldwide. And so to know that is an option that, like, yes, we can make it work. But don't write it off yet. Just come in and ask questions or get a telehealth appointment. And
absolutely. Even though we're in Kansas City, we talk to people all over the country.
Yeah, that's
okay. So Shelby, tell us a little bit more about what other guys have so much off that you offer at the practice.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Where to begin? So on the functional side, obviously our main kind of bread and butter is what I call it, is the hormone replacement, but we also have a lot of vitamin injectables, IVs. We do different sexual function treatments for both male and female. We will have a women's treatment for every men's treatment that we have. That's important.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole nother show. I was like, I don't think we have time for that. And then I do a lot of stuff on the aesthetic side as well. Just as I've kind of been here through the years, I do a lot of injectables. Once people start feeling better on the inside, they really are like, you know what? I feel like I want to look that way on the outside too. So injectables, PRP, Botox fillers, laser procedures. We've got 2 great estheticians, facials. So we do have a wide variety of treatments at our practice. And honestly, along with the hormone replacement route, we've got a great nurse practitioner that too, even if the hormones don't get all of their symptoms completely relieved, sometimes additional procedures are necessary. And we have those for those ones that qualify for that too. So yeah.
That is incredible.
And you can't turn on the TV right now without seeing a GLP-1 commercial, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Forgot to mention, of course.
So we have a really busy weight loss practice that has just kind of exploded over the last few years, because obviously everything is now FDA approved for weight loss. These drugs have been around for decades for diabetic patients, but now the first time FDA has approved them specifically for weight loss.
Yes.
So we don't go through insurance. So we're able to provide it at a much lower cost, and we try to not make anything we do too cost prohibitive. So for a new weight loss patient who is interested in maybe GLP-1, we started around $300, where a lot of times it's more in the thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And you can order it online, and I'm not saying anything bad about that, but there's always a question about what exactly are you getting, and do you have the support you need for potential side effects or questions or problems that might come up from just ordering it online and kind of winging it yourself. So
Yeah, we manage like people's body compositions and then those side effects that can come along with those medications, which obviously that's important because you can kind of feel crappy if you're not kind of staying ahead of things on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for fixing Tracy.
you get in there.
Wait for 50 now. Really hard. This first half of 40. I'm ready for the second half.
I will say,
smiles.
yeah, look at that smile.
so happy.
She has not cried nearly as much on this on the season 4 as she did season 1 and 2. Season whatever season we're on. I don't know.
Anyway.
Yes, so I want to say thank you to that.
Fun.
I'm going to make my appointments for next week. I think I'm going to be the first one to bring in my husband at the same time. I'm like, honey, just drive me there.
Right.
Oh, wait, did I not tell you this was for both of us?
Yeah, right. Great. Yeah.
Just this was an appointment for 2. Yeah, that's how I got him to the chiropractor. No big deal. But so thank you, ladies, for your time and so much.
Of course. Thank you.
It's such a pleasure being here with you too. And thank you for being advocates for women and women's health and letting women know, hey, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to want to do things for your own health proactively. Yeah. We do everything for everybody else, right? Take care of our kids, our husbands, our friends, our parents, our dogs, our cats,
Yep.
And so it's time to, make sure you're cared for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will put everything in the show notes, how they can find you guys. Yeah. And if you have any personal questions, hey, I'm an open book. Send me a message. I'm willing to talk about it.
It's at Unlikely Housewives, that on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Until next time.
Bye.
Whether we made you laugh or cry today, we pray you feel appreciated, bolder and braver than yesterday, stronger and more faithful for tomorrow, and living in who you were made to be today.
Join our online community on Facebook, link in the show notes, and be sure to review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy listening. Until next time, housewives, we give you permission to walk confidently, free, and to be intentional in your slippers or stilettos.